Hi Prashant, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Great.
Thanks. How about you?
Fine as well. Thank you, Prashant. So congratulations for being accepted as speaker for the Global Testing Retreat by ATA. And would you please introduce yourself, Prashant?
Yeah, I'm Prashant. I'm part of Cognizant Technologies. My designation is Associate Director, taking care of the non-functional testing, predominantly performance testing and engineering, accessibility testing, and security testing too.
Okay. Okay, great. So your topic XYZ scaling microservices. Could you please tell us about it and what audience can expect?
Yeah. So if you look at the 90s, right, as the enterprise applications evolved, it was transforming from the monolithic, which is more like a major single unit component, towards
Okay.
the traditional SOA, which is loosely coupled, and
Okay.
to microservices. This
Okay.
is more of a decoupled services. Okay.
Okay.
Now the disadvantages with the monolithic architecture was it was like a big ball of mud. Okay, where if something goes wrong, we don't know where to start the hotspot identification, diagnostics of it. It's going to be a tough task. Okay,
Okay.
and that's where if you look at way back in 2008, where Netflix, one of the media platforms, right? They had similar kind of a technical glitch in the system, which translated into almost 4 days of downtime. Okay, availability was an issue that time.
Okay.
And that's where they started thinking about how we can decouple the services, business services, so
Okay.
that even if something goes wrong in the business functionality, things can seamlessly work. That's where the microservices has evolved over a period of time. Okay, while it evolved, there are certain advantages as well as the disadvantages to it. Okay, the advantages being that it is more modular. Second is also it is more operationally agile, as well as more of a scalable platform. Okay.
Okay.
However, the maintenance of these services is going to be a Herculean task for the IT engineers. Okay, that's
Okay.
one aspect. But at the same time, we need to leverage the microservices, how to validate some of these services to the extent where the performance, the scalability, and also the availability is taken care for the business enterprises. That is where the XYZ scaling has come into picture, which we also call it as a scale cube model. Okay. For a layman terms, let me explain about XYZ scaling. X means typically, okay, you put the services onto a given hardware, and then you ensure that you test it, okay, till the resources are exhausted. The resources could be your CPU, your memory, your IO, and all that stuff. Okay, so that is one way to look at from a performance aspect of it. The moment the resources are exhausted, you actually add more nodes to it, and then you validate it. Let's say today you are trying with 100 users, and your resources are already hit on that given hardware to 90% or 80% for that matter. Now you have to scale further. We have to support, let's say, 500 users. What will you do? You will add more nodes to it. Horizontal scaling is what we call it. That is where typically some of the QA organizations and the enterprise also, we test it that way. Okay. The X scaling is what is the strategy which we adopt. Now, this Y scaling is more about functionally decomposing the microservices itself. Okay. What I meant by functional decomposition is you have again two, it is designed into two terms, one being noun based, other being verb based. When I say verb based, it is more about the activity the service is carrying or the service which is orchestrated. Okay, for example, so I'm logging into, I'll take an example of e-banking itself. Okay, you are logging into internet banking solution, let's say ICICI Bank itself. Okay, you try to fire in the query saying that I wanted to type in the URL icicibank.com. Okay, and that is an activity which is called a verb-based activity, where you fire the URL, you key in the credentials, then you check your balance, then you do a fund transfer and whatnot. Okay, that's how the activities are framed into the verb-based activities. Okay, and the second version of it is the noun-based. When I say noun-based, the ICICI internet banking solution can afford to have a retail user like me. I'm here logging in as a retail user, okay? And I also can have corporate users. Let's say, for example, I'm part of the Cognizant organization. I'm using for my own accounting and some of my own financial aspects, I use ICICI Bank. So obviously, as a corporate, I might have hundreds of users a part of it. So I will have a corporate user there. And also typically banks also have certain relationship managers also to support. So these are some of the noun-based functionality which we classify and then we validate it. For example, just to come to that, if it is a login or a financial transaction where user is trying to do fund transfer, this is a financial transaction and it requires a lot more scalability, lot more performance to be taken care, and the SLAs has to be honored based on the kind of activity, based on the user noun-based activity, or which is a corporate user. I can accordingly guarantee them certain performances. How you do it? You either identify the request using a URI or the HTTP headers which come as part of the HTTP request, and then you accordingly route those to those premium-based service so that your the request can be honored with agility and with scalability. This is something which we take care as part of the functional decomposition, which I called it as noun-based or verb-based.
Right.
Third is the Z scaling, which is called like a data sharding. Okay, what it means is, as I was saying, right, I was giving the classic example of a retail user versus a corporate user. Okay, if Cognizant, if some users are representing Cognizant and then trying to log into ICICI Bank, yes, their accessibility, their performance has to be, let's say, maybe 500 milliseconds. Okay. Whereas if I log in as a retail user, probably there is a tolerance level which can go up to 1 second to 1.5 seconds. Okay. So accordingly, the SLAs of the corporate versus the retail users might vary. So what I would do is I will shard those particular instances. When I say sharding, more of a cloning of the application instances where these microservices get hosted. And then based on the kind of user coming in, kind of the entity which is logging and trying to do certain activity, I will route to that request to the premium-based access policies and to a high-end servers, or to if it is a retail user, to a mid-range server, so that the SLAs are still honored with between 1 second to 1.5 seconds to the retail users, whereas for a corporate user, it has to honor within 500 milliseconds. So I will divert the traffic accordingly. That is what we call it as a data sharding mechanism or the strategy which we apply. Okay, so that the premium-based customers are given much more, stringent SLAs and the performance SLAs to honor to. This is what our whole theory about XYZ scaling is all about for the microservices.
Okay. Thank you, Prashant, for a very detailed information about your talk and this three-dimensional aspect for scaling microservices. I'm sure audience would learn a lot from your experience, and sounds like a very practical talk and something they can also implement with their architecture. So thank you so much for this information, and we look forward to hearing you on 11th. Thanks, Prashant.